Welcome to the Golden Ratio Podcast. I am Jen, GR Mom, joined as always by GR Dad.
Hi.
It's time for a No Rules Podcast, GR Dad.
Yes, it is. It's overdue time.
No rules.
No rules. I have been so constrained and buttoned down for so long now. The no rules is just going to be unleashed.
We had a pitcher of sangria with dinner, which was a leek Gruyere tart, which was pretty decent.
Oh, I'd say it was good.
Yeah. The crust was not the best, but the filling was pretty tasty.
Oh.
I've made
an underrated
leeks.
onion-like thing.
I love leeks.
Leeks are good. I think they're Irish. It's good.
I've made a second pitcher of sangria.
Yep.
So we're prepared for like full-on, no rules mayhem.
This might have to be edited.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the best part of No Rules Podcast is that we don't edit them.
I might have regrets.
Yeah. Well,
edit out my regrets.
We'll see how it goes. So I think I mentioned in the regular podcast this week that I had solicited, now this is like right after Thanksgiving, I had told the super followers and the Patreon, it's like, ooh, we're going to do No Rules Podcast. What do you want us to talk about? And then, of course, we didn't do one. And then I left. We didn't do one. And so now I'm going back to what they asked for then.
Still valid. There was no time limit. The terms and conditions did not include a time limit on submissions. We own all rights to these submissions, by the way.
So our friend Jen Coleslaw said, who's your favorite New England transplant to Virginia? Is it me? So I'm going to go with yes.
Yes.
Thanks, Jen Coleslaw. You're our favorite New England transplant to Virginia.
Yes. She seems very nice. She's sent me coffee.
I hung out with her. We had a good time.
You're lucky.
She's like my full-on regular friend now. Okay. Living in the Florida Keys, how accessible or hard is it to actually own a house down there?
Oof.
It's kind of tough, actually.
As with all this boomer stuff, 18 years ago, you could buy one for a handful of raspberries, and now that house is worth $2.5 million.
Well, I mean, aside from the fact that, like, property is ridiculously expensive, we bought our house in 2018 and it's now appraised like 50% higher than what we paid for it. But aside from the real estate cost, how hard is it to live down here?
I mean, yeah, it's interesting.
Do you have a mouthful of ice? Not anymore.
Maybe. What makes you think the clinking sound is ice? I mean, how do you define hard, right? I mean, in some ways it's, if you like going out to bars and hanging out on the beach and drinking all day, it's perfect. I would say, like, I find it harder than living in other places, having just spent 9 days up in Maryland, right? Like, you can't get anything delivered here. So that's tough. I mean, like, there's UPS obviously and like the post office, but like we can't get a pizza delivered. Like, there's no food delivery here. There's no grocery delivery. Right.
So like if you forgot something at the store, and look, I mean, like living in Maryland, like we live right on the DC border, right? So we have access to the full complement of urban services.
Yeah.
Where you can get groceries delivered in an hour.
If you're from Manhattan or a suburb of any major big city, it's jarring. There's no Whole Foods, there's no Target, there's no Trader Joe's. It's not like there's only a few. There's just none. There's
none of so many things, right? So like Publix is great, but like that's your grocery store option other than like Winn-Dixie.
Winn-Dixie,
right?
Yeah.
And there's a couple grocery stores in Key West, and then you can drive 40 miles to Big Pine. That's where the next grocery store is. And then the next one is kind of 30 miles past that. There's one grocery store in Big Pine, and then there's two in Marathon. Maybe there's one, right? So like that's your choice. You don't have a lot of options besides that. And so if you need stuff, like say you need something for your house, you need like, oh crap, I don't have a pot. I need a pot. You can go to Kmart.
Yep, they still have that.
There is, I think, a restaurant store in Key West.
The restaurant supply store that might have pots.
But like your options for like getting stuff is really limited. And so if there's a thing that you want, right? Like, oh, I really like this brand of whatever. Yeah. If they don't have it at Publix, like you have to order it on the internet, basically. If you want good Indian food, no, that's not a thing here. You want Chipotle? No. Like any of the brand, like fast casual places that you like, they do not exist here.
green kava, none of that.
Nothing. No, I mean, like, we have a Burger King and a McDonald's and a Taco Bell.
And a
in
Sonic.
Key West. There's a Sonic.
But they don't always wear roller skates.
People were really excited when the Sonic went in a few years ago. But that's it, right? Like, if you want to, there's nowhere to go to get like a sandwich for lunch or like a salad for lunch, unless you're going to like sit down at a restaurant, basically.
Yeah, or you go to some local place, which is mixed, right? There's like Kim's Cuban or the, one of these Bay Point markets or something. Remember the Dolphin Deli that we went to?
Oh, that place was not good. I don't want to be mean to local places, but that was not great.
No, so you get these local places, right? They have their followers.
But it's kind
standard.
of like the 1970s, 1980s version of like the local place that you could have gone to in the rest of the U.S.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe like the 1950s version.
Yeah, that's right. If you come here from like a small isolated place in the Midwest, right? Or, middle of Nebraska or middle of Oklahoma or something.
Really remote. Yeah.
Really remote, where you don't have a Walmart and you don't have a Target and you don't, you're not connected, and you drive an hour to the big city. It's kind of like this, or 2.5 hours to the big city. Right?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, even in really small towns, in rural places, they at least have a Walmart. Not that I want a Walmart, right? But we don't have that here. So there's not even the like one place that you can go.
That's true.
That's kind of a center for everything. There's no Walmart. There's no Target. And everybody's very proud to be like, we're closer to Havana than to Walmart.
Yeah.
But the conveniences are much less.
Yeah,
right?
and it's the same culturally, right? There's like one theater, there's one movie theater, or maybe a couple of movie theaters, but
there's like one regular and one second run.
Yeah, that's right. But then there's like one, like theater, a community theater.
Oh,
house,
yeah,
right? Like,
that's right.
And that's about it. And you're kind of, if that has something you're interested in, that's great. If not, you're kind of, you don't see it, or you go to Miami, which is a whole trip.
And I mean, we're down at the bottom of the Keys, right? So we're kind of as far as it gets from Miami. Like, if you lived in Marathon, then it's an 1.5-hour trip to Miami, which is a much different thing than
that's right,
2.5-3 hour trip, which it is for us.
Yeah.
So it's not that necessarily is hard, but it's a real change. And there's nothing that's open 24 hours. I mean, I guess in Key West, there's a few like CVS's that are open 24 hours, but like, there's no vet specialists down here. I mean, this plays out for us, right? There's no specialty vets in the Keys.
Right.
Our emergency vet is reopening in January, which is great. But if you need to see an internist, if you need to see a orthopedic specialist, you have to go 3 hours away.
Yeah.
Which, so just the conveniences of living in a place this remote is kind of stark compared to living, basically in Washington, D.C., where we live in Maryland, right on the border, where, we can get on the metro and we have access to everything delivered and every kind of specialist. Like, there's nothing that we're lacking there. Right. So it's a very stark contrast.
Yeah. I mean, if you dream of living on an island and just doing your own thing and having your house and your groceries and your life, domestic, and you like going to the beach and you have a boat, this might be really nice for you. But if you think you can sort of split the difference between living in a city or a suburb and this convenience and remoteness, you can't really. No,
I mean, you really are living on an island here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, I think it's great too.
And, it was great, like, being up in Maryland, just being able to have, I mean, there were days where I had like groceries delivered 3 different times from a couple different places, because it's like, oh crap, I didn't get this or this. Like, I'll just have somebody bring it, right? And then it would like show up on my front doorstep. And
ordering Domino's is exotic up there.
Oh, I did. I ordered Domino's. So yeah, I love kind of the remoteness of it and the just kind of being in our own space, and there's a kind of independence of it, and it's good. But it's a very different lifestyle than we had in Maryland.
I kind of like the natural rhythm where when the sun goes down, everyone stops working or doing anything serious, and sundown is a big marker for passing into like party time or dinner time or resting time, and sunrise, sunset is a big deal. But like traffic in Key West gets heavy at like 3. People like pretty much knock off at 3 and do other stuff.
Yep. Yeah, it's great. But it's different, and there's parts of it that are a challenge, and we see, among some of like our older neighbors that it's hard for them to stay down here. Uh,
Yeah, especially if you need medical care.
yeah, like there's not nursing homes in the Keys. I mean, there's like maybe one, right? But
No.
there's not a lot of like that kind of support here. So we've seen a few kind of neighbors who just, really start having more intense needs, and then they've got to go someplace else.
Yeah.
So,
And again, it's probably just to round it off. Sorry, there's a distinction between living in Key West, which is its own little town, and you can walk everywhere, you can bike everywhere, everything's really close, and I think you can live there without leaving. And then we're in like the suburb, 17 minutes away, or
suburb.
17 miles away, and so we do a lot of driving up and down Route 1, right? Or if you're in Big Pine too, you'll be spending a lot of time on that one road going back and forth.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. How a bunch of people asked versions of this. How do you fit in work around dogs? Like, how do you get anything done with all of those dogs that you have to
Good
handle?
question.
Yeah. So my work schedule is, obviously flexible, and, COVID has tweaked that a bunch too. So pre-COVID, I was kind of traveling pretty much once a week. I would kind of fly somewhere, and then I'd be back in 36 hours. And there's some of that now, and it's about the same, though the flying's a little bit longer since often have to connect. I mean, there's direct flights from Key West to, Dallas, Chicago, DC, New York, but if I want to go further than that, I have to connect. And so in that case, your dad's here and
Right.
makes that possible. If you weren't here, like if you had to go into the office somewhere, or if you were here part-time, like that, this wouldn't really work well.
Yep.
So the fact that you can work here really helps. Not that I'm doing a ton of that traveling still. It's still really slow from COVID. But yeah, we kind of get up in the morning. You get up before me, and then, do the morning stuff. And then I usually start working at like 8:30 or 9, and kind of work until 4 or 5 typically, and I'll take breaks in between. I'll go for a run or whatever, but I try to kind of spend like that main part of the day working, and, do the dog things that need to be done. But in between meals, they can be low maintenance, right? They can also be high maintenance if it's like, oh, let's take them out and we'll play fetch, and then we've got to dry them, and that becomes a whole production. But,
Right.
I mean, if I've got stuff to do, it's like they have their breakfast, everybody gets to go out, even if I'm here alone, everybody eats, everybody goes out, they come in, whatever, they fight for a while, and then they all go to sleep, and they sleep pretty much all day. So it's just like I have to occasionally let them out.
Yeah, they do sleep long stretches of time during the day.
They sleep most of the day. Yeah. And then, repeat for dinner. Everybody gets fed, and they go out and they mess around for a while. And then I'll kind of I save the more mindless work, like, oh, you have to fill out this form and sign off on this thing, or, check off these boxes, or kind of emails that require responding to that don't take a lot of work. I save that kind of work for the evening. So like when we're watching TV or hanging out at night, I'll do, an hour or 2 of work. That's all just kind of mindless stuff. Like we're watching a shark movie, and I'll fill out my like faculty leave report for the 2-week period, or
17 seasons of NCIS were a lot of that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty easy for me because, I rarely have a day that's full of meetings. It's very rare.
Oh.
So even if I'm doing, TV, or if I have a virtual speaking event, or I have meetings, like it tends to be, 1 or 2 hours a day of that. It's very rare that I'll have like, a full day of meetings sometimes, but not much. And then it's just like, okay, well, somebody maybe needs to go out, but that's it. So it's pretty easy for me to manage.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of give them as much as we can. If we're on calls or Zooms or things, then dogs just have to hang out a little bit longer, and either in a different room, or we can separate them out so they're not always barking on the porch. But But if we don't have time to entertain them, agitate them, then they're pretty mellow, and they're not constantly making unreasonable demands or anything.
No, they're all capable of staying at home by themselves for 8 hours at a stretch. Mm-hmm. So if we both, if we were in Maryland and we both like had to go into work all day, they'd be fine. Like they'd do their business after breakfast and we would leave and they'd be fine until we got home.
Yeah.
And, so we like to take them out more than that and, do stuff with them. And, Voods especially like loves to go out all the time. And it's like, we'll do that if we can, but they're fine if we can't. And
he just goes out and falls asleep outside. He can also just fall asleep in here. I mean, he's just, we seek the perfect with them, but if we can't do it, then they don't demand it.
Yeah, so you tend to get up before me, mostly I think because you're on a little more of a hair trigger with morning noises than I am.
Yeah, I don't want Boots to start waking you up, really. So when he starts making pre-bark noises, I'm like, all right, try to stop him from barking.
Which is very nice. Like, you're often up at like 6 or 6:30.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's his time.
When Ingo leaves, like if you go visit your daughter or if you're out of town or whatever, and I'm here with the dogs by myself, I maybe will get up with Vood sometimes at like 6, let him out, bring him back in. But we always sleep until like 8 or 8:30. We sleep way later when you're not here.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, nope, it's still bedtime, you guys. And I get back in bed and everyone's like, all right, I guess we're going back to sleep.
No, I make the mistake, right? Like Guac shows up with his avocado in his mouth and gives me this quizzical look, and if I end up letting him out, then Remy goes out, and then they chase each other around, and then it's anarchy for a while, and then it takes a lot longer, and then I'm not going back to sleep.
Yeah, but I feel like that's you kind of opting to get up.
Yeah, and this is what I mean, right? That this is me choosing to let them have their playtime and fun time.
Yeah.
Not that they're making it impossible to say no, right?
No, but like this morning, so we're recording this on Wednesday, so Monday was like, I had a work thing in the morning in Maryland and then like the 12-hour odyssey of getting back here to the Keys. So we, got back here at like 1, went to bed at like 2.
Yeah.
Tuesday was up like not super early, but pretty early. And I had like a speaking event and a media thing and a couple work meetings. It was just a packed day after an exhausting day.
Yeah.
And then couldn't fall asleep last night until like 2 or 2:30. So I slept until like almost 10 this morning, which is like whatever, 7.5 hours of sleep. But you had closed the door at some point so the dogs wouldn't bug me. But when I woke up at like 9:45, like Walk and Vink were in the bedroom with me, asleep still at 9:45, like totally happy to be sleeping. And
but they'd had breakfast.
Yeah. No, I mean, I wouldn't be able to sleep that late without you here, but it's totally doable.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, a lot of this is a feedback loop with me, I admit.
They sleep fine until 8 or 8:30 if you're not here.
Yeah.
Who's that making noises?
Is that Bonk?
It sounded like a Vink noise. Okay. So yeah, that's sort of how we manage it. Basically breakfast and dinner, and then we work in between. And if one of us has to work kind of over those, if you have something early or if I have something that's running late, the other one of us will just feed the dogs. And it's, it's a production, but it's like you can get the whole process done of feeding them, letting them out, and getting them back in and settled down in about 30 or 40 minutes if you have to.
Yeah, I was going to say 30 minutes.
Yeah. So, it's doable.
Yeah. They don't, I mean, again, it's me saying it's not perfect and I have time, so I'll invest more time a lot of times and I'll video that. But, it's not something they absolutely need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's an easy one. What dog shampoo do you use? We use Animal Pharmaceuticals Comfort Shampoo.
Is that what it's called?
Yep. Recommended by our friend a couple blocks over who also has a golden who comes to visit and swim with us sometimes. And it smells kind of like coconuts. It smells really good. It's a really great shampoo for like...
Is that the one with a horse on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
has a dog too, but also a horse.
Yep. It's good for dogs with like really sensitive skin. That's what her dog used it for. And it lathers really well. You don't have to use a ton of it. It's great. So you have to get it, I think, from like the Animal Pharmaceuticals site, or we get it from like, I don't know, there's some other vet site that does it.
Is it chewy?
No, it's, I don't know. It's some random like vet specific site. It doesn't need a prescription, but it's a little difficult to find, but it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I may be using a different one that the doctor recommended for Venk.
The chlorhexidine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That may be the one that has the horse on it. So, maybe we'll post this on the internet or something.
We for a long time used chlorhexidine based shampoo, and it may be in the other one, and you can get that on Amazon, but then the vet also has one that has stronger formulations of it, and that's really good if your dog's getting like hot spots or
but we also
whatever.
need so much to lather up these dogs because the shampoo just disappears in the fur.
It does, yeah.
So the good shampoo that we had, we were using Burt's Bees for a while, but it didn't make enough foam.
Oh, that stuff doesn't lather at all.
No, it was like maybe it's based on wax or something, but like the stuff we now have, it lathers up really well. It just we need so much because of all the hair, especially in Venk and Hops.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. How did Remy win over GR Mom? So this, I can tell you when this happened. When I got attacked by the jellyfish.
Yeah.
And spent the week on the couch. So that was it was like the middle of October, I guess.
You should have been hospitalized.
I totally should have gone to the hospital.
In hindsight. But of course the hospitals here would have
I called the hospital. I was like, here's all the stuff that's happening. And they're like, oh, that's weird.
That's weird.
I don't think you need to come in.
They really are frontier style medicine. They're like,
you can breathe, you're fine.
They didn't even say pour vinegar on it. They were just like, no, that's fine.
It was too late for vinegar at that point, I think.
I don't know.
Cool. Anyway, that Irukandji-like syndrome knocked me out for a week. And so I was just hanging out on the couch. I was exhausted, just absolutely zonked out. Vink is like tossing her little head around. What does she want? Oh, she just grabbed the avocado. She like jumped off the couch and now she's like twisting her little body around in circles. She doesn't get second dinner. And we're back. We had to do some business. What were we talking about?
We've done with living in the Keys. What shampoo were we using?
Oh, yeah. Well, now, there you go. That's what we're doing. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, no, we were talking about how Remy won over me.
Oh, yeah, we were starting that one.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I was hanging out on the couch for a week, like binge watching Halloween Wars because those shows are like soothe my mind when I am in pain and struggling and can't focus on anything. And he would like get up on the couch and like curl up and snug up on me. And he was so nice. And
he'd do the look back too. He does the look back.
That's all I needed.
That's reminiscent.
Yeah, he really kind of calmed down. We had him on trazodone up until a few weeks ago, of various amounts, because when we got him, he would like bark all the time. He was super like
humpy,
agitated. But even after the humping stopped, right, he would like bark. He'd be agitated.
Yeah.
And he just kind of settled in.
He settled. Now he's not threatened by anything. He knows where everything is. I think he's a sweet boy.
Yeah. Of all the dogs who've been in the squad so far, which dog has been the most high maintenance and why?
See, that's a tough question because if a dog is too high maintenance with the existing crew, then we would try to adopt them out.
But I think like we had St. Patrick, Parmesan, and Manchego all were very high maintenance dogs. I'd say maybe St. Patrick just because we had him longer than Parmesan and Manchego.
Yeah, Parmesan because he couldn't walk.
Manchego we had to put in the cart.
Oh, no, Manchego because he couldn't walk. Yeah, he was much worse. Parm, we were hoping he'd turn the corner and do fine, right?
Yeah. Parm was lower maintenance. Manchego was probably the highest maintenance because when we got him, he couldn't really stand up or walk. So we'd have to, anytime he had to go out, which was like the only time he'd basically get up, we'd have to pick him up, put him in the cart, wheel him outside, put him out, let him walk around. He was blind. He's diabetic.
Yeah, he had a lot of the trifecta, yeah.
So every single thing in his life required tremendous intervention from us to make it happen. He was such a
sweet boy.
Oh, he was such a good dog.
But that's, of all the dogs, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Swizzle had other problems where she was very neurotic.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And had been a lot traumatized. So her behaviors were weirder. But she could go up and down the stairs herself mostly and was was not diabetic and didn't have the medical issues.
Yeah, but she's, I think, the most anxious dog that we've had. Right?
Yeah, and currently, I mean, Voods takes a lot of attention because anything he does has sort of the subliminal threat of, will he have a seizure?
Right.
I mean, that's why I sort of jump a lot harder for some of his weird behaviors because he's got this weird status, right? I mean, otherwise, if it were Venk being annoying, I'd be like, Venk, come on, settle down. But Voods, I'm like, oh, is it a brain thing? I don't know. Better be nice to him. So he there's a little bit more anxiety wrapped up in Vood, but he's not low maintenance either, because he also doesn't, he's not super good on the stairs or anything.
Yeah, no, Voods is not low maintenance at all, but he's a good boy.
Yeah, they are all good, though. That is true.
This is all these great dog and life questions, and I'm over here like a weirdo wondering how your toenails fared during the last half marathon. Or the last marathon.
Well, 5 of them did okay.
I have 5 toenails currently. Well, they're all growing back a little bit.
Out of 10, though, not on 1 foot.
No, 5 total.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am. So I'm taking kind of a running break now to let myself heal up and working on some physical therapy.
A non-running break.
A non-running break. Yeah. Well, a break from running.
Mm-hmm.
But I just yesterday confirmed that I'm going to run the Boston Marathon again next year with CRI, the community rowing, the same group that I ran with this year. So that's going to be fun. And they said, they're like, you have to raise this much money. And if you raise double that, you get to name a boat in their boathouse.
That's very cool.
Which we thought Hopper's Leg.
Hopper's right leg would
be a good boat name.
Yeah, I went all serious, like, oh, make it Grace Hopper, and you're like, oh no, Hopper's Leg.
Hopper's Leg. Ghost Leg would also be good.
I could see a bunch of community rowing people being like, let's take out the Hopper's Leg.
Yep. Has Vink always danced and done her tippy taps at meal times? Kind of pretty much.
Yeah, and I know this mostly from looking at my old videos. She's always been dancy and happy. Like in Maryland, she does it around that corner.
Yep.
She did spins.
Yep.
I think for a while we had her in Venk jail. I think she's just always super excited about food.
Always. Yep.
She's unfortunately cursed with having to be on an enforced diet all her life, and she loves food.
I feel you, Vink.
But she can't eat as much as she wants because then she turns into bad angle foods, and that's
I feel you, Vink.
Bad for her joints and everything.
Does GR Dad still row?
Not down here.
Not on the water down here.
I don't think there's I have a rowing machine. I have the Concept 2 Erg that I work out on, right? But it's a little bit different. When I'm in DC, I go to Thompson Boathouse sometimes and take out a single and row as much as I can, but it's not, I'm not in any club because there's nothing down here. I think I know there are places in Miami that row even on the canals and stuff.
Yeah, I lived right by that boathouse that winter I was in Miami.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, and there may be, I don't know, there may be people who, I've never seen anyone rowing down here, and I think it's just a little too choppy and oceany, frankly, to get any real rowing done.
Yeah.
So do I not as much as I'd like to, I guess. When I'm in DC, I'll row in the Potomac as much as I can.
For someone who's had Goldens in the past as puppies and now wants to adopt a senior, what do you recommend? Tips, tricks, things to know. How should I go about it? That's a good question.
Go through a rescue.
Yeah, you pretty much, look, if somebody's going to give you their old dog, like that's great, but going through a rescue.
I was just saying, then you get a good description of the dog, and you get a much more the dog's history, and you get a much better procedure than going to a shelter, right? If you go directly to a shelter, you never know what the dog is like, right?
The good thing about Goldens is that every state has a Golden Rescue group. Some have multiple. I think there's 6 or maybe 8 in Florida. And they'll pull all the Goldens out of the shelter. So it's very, very rare that you'll find a Golden in a shelter, because as soon as they come in, all the shelters know that the rescue groups will take them out right away, and then they'll go in a foster home. They'll get all their medical care. So it's better for the shelters because they don't have to, deal with all of that. And, it's a better outcome for the dog. So occasionally one will come into a shelter, and I see that with our rescue group that we still work with in DC, that sometimes somebody will get one of those dogs before they transfer them over to the rescue group, but it's pretty rare, so you don't want to necessarily look there. But however you get them, I would say they're more expensive, maybe if not at first, certainly eventually, right? Because they've got something, whatever's going to go wrong with them is coming sooner. So pet insurance is a great idea if you can get it. We have pet insurance for all the dogs, and it definitely pays us more than we pay them.
I was going to say it pays for itself. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Probably get some extra rugs if you have non-carpeted floors.
Yeah, for slipperiness, not for accidents.
Yeah, and we have, all of our rugs are like pretty cheap rugs that we have bought on Amazon, and they look pretty good.
Until they don't, and then we just get into
and then it's easy to if you have dramatic accidents, which sometimes happens. We've been able to clean them all up here, but we've occasionally had dramatic accidents on the rugs in Maryland where it's like, oh, this just needs to go, and then whatever, we spend another $50 and get another rug that'll last us a year.
But then you got to invest in the spot pot that goes with the carpet.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily older dogs, right? We have some older dogs that have had problems that lead to messes, but it's plenty. It's all kinds of stuff.
Gawaka's thrown up. Yeah.
Oh my God, we've had so many problems. But I think traction is the main thing that you kind of have to expect to deal with, and then it just depends on the dogs, right? Like, for like Queso and Jasmine and Maggie, like we never had to really use like the harnesses or any kind of stuff on them. Didn't have booties on them.
Yeah, think about it. If you have a house with a lot of steps, are you going to be able to carry the dog if you have to? And it may not be always. Or is the dog okay downstairs, right? I mean, it's just something to think about. They get older. Yeah. It's harder for them. Goldens have hip problems traditionally. It's going to be harder for them to bound up and downstairs.
Yeah, I mean, Queso always slept downstairs. She never came upstairs with us in Maryland. My previous dog, Pi, she had hip problems, and we'd go up the stairs every night, and I'd put scoop my hands under her butt, and she'd do her front legs, and I'd do her back legs, and we'd go up the stairs. With Jasmine, she had the vestibular problems, and so we actually had to put up baby gates so she wouldn't try to go down the stairs by herself.
Yeah, she was used to doing the stairs by herself, and then couldn't, but still would try, and then it would turn to tumbling.
Yep. And so it's kind of, but I mean, she's kind of the only dog that we had to worry about that with, and Queso's the only one who wouldn't come upstairs. So it depends on your dog. But we did put the ramp in to the backyard, which has been critical for all of our old dogs.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I don't mean do it all the time, but if there's an emergency or something.
Yes, that's right.
Or you're walking your dog and they suddenly have a shooting pain and don't want to go anymore. Can you pick them up? It's just something to think about, right? You might not want to get a 120-pound dog if you're not comfortable with lifting them up sometimes.
Yeah, or, when... we were here when the elevator broke this summer, and I think you left for part of that time. Maybe it was just for a day you were gone.
Yeah, I think so. That's right.
And so we had Voods, who can't do the stairs, and I cannot carry his 90-pound body up and down the stairs. And so I used the help him up harness, which is great. He had to do a little more than he wanted to because he likes to be carried up and down.
Oh, no, he's completely lazy. Yeah.
But with that harness, I'm able to, kind of manipulate him up, and it takes way less strength than carrying. And so if you do, if that's a situation, because you will sometimes have to pick him up, think about what kind of equipment you can get to help if it's not something that you can do yourself.
I think it's just something to think about, right? You're strong, and we're both fit, but you just, if you're in a situation where you have a really heavy dog who gets incapacitated and you're not strong enough to move them around, it's awkward. It can be. I think you can work around and fix it, but it's just something you should be aware of ahead of time.
Yep. Did it take long for the squad members to adjust to the Florida heat? Dear Dad, how have you adjusted to the Florida heat?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the worst adjuster because I sweat like crazy, like a banshee, which is not an analogy, but I mean, that's my excuse for not doing not being able to progress in ultra marathons is because I'll take like a, medium, like a half marathon or something, and I'll sweat 6 pounds or 8 pounds.
You lose an alarming amount of weight.
And that's with a Camelback, trying to drink it all back. So I just, my body just says sweat like crazy down here. I think it's the humidity, which is very stereotypical. And so I'm not debilitated, and I wear clothes where I can just sweat through them. But if I'm outside, watering the plants or something, I am drenched in sweat literally in half an hour.
Yeah, you are.
And then it's fine. I mean, I'll just change clothes and then shower. But I have not adjusted to the heat personally. I mean, I get colder quicker.
Yep.
So I've adjusted that way, but I have not been able to shrug off the heat and the humidity.
The dogs have actually adapted pretty well. So, we kind of have hurricane season and not hurricane season. So hurricane season from June to November is when it's hot. And, November starts to cool off a little bit, and June's not terrible at the beginning. But basically, from middle of June until October, it's very hot and humid. And so we don't take the dogs out for walks in the middle of the day. Like the pavement's too hot. Like it's just kind of too hot for them to do anything. So that's an adaptation. But other than that, they're fine. I mean, they go outside, they go into the water, and the water is very warm. I mean, in the middle of the summer, it's like going into a bathtub. But they're fine with it. They don't really care, and they mostly just lay around. So
yeah, I mean, they're as air conditioned as we are too. I mean, they can, hang out on the shady porch or go inside in the air conditioning. They're all, and I think at night they seek their comfort level. Some sleep on the tile, some don't.
Yep.
But it's cool.
Yeah, they do pretty fine. Do you have any special plans for sabbatical this year, or just recovering from 3 hellish semesters? I'm writing a book. I just talked to the publisher of the book this week about their press release for the book, which is coming out soon. So I'm going to be able to tell you guys all about it. It's extremely exciting. It's going to be great. It's going to be a New York Times bestseller in 2023 if I am summoning things into existence.
The only thing it'll be missing is my humor.
Giordad is not working on the book with me.
My humor is going to be missing.
Yep. If you want to have a story in the book, I'm sure we can make that happen.
Who, what, me?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
interesting.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But yeah, so I'm doing a little bit of research. I've still got some work projects going on. But that's going to be my main project. And we just got a publisher for the book. We got a Big 5 publisher, which is great. It's going to be a really popular book. Like you'll see it in the airport, and you'll see it at, if you have a local bookstore, it's going to be there. So I have a co-author, and we're going to be writing that book. So I will be tweeting about it. Hopefully this week. I mean, I think my book agent and the publisher are just working out any final details on the press release, which is really quick. So we'll be talking about it soon. That's going to be my project until September. So
nice.
Yeah, our plan and maybe we haven't signed our contract yet because it takes a long time to negotiate those. But I think we're going to deliver it in August. So it's going to be, now until the end of my sabbatical. That's going to be my main focus.
2022.
Yeah, I'll deliver it in August of 2022. And then, it takes a long time for the publisher to, they copy edit it. They have salespeople, they have press, they have to make a cover, they have to do all of this stuff.
Are you going to be on the Tonight Show?
It. I don't know about the Tonight Show, but the plan is that we will do some big, morning shows, kind of Good Morning America kind of press stuff maybe. I mean,
nice.
This is all over a year away, but the idea is that it's that kind of book, that it's going to be the sort of thing that everybody's going to be talking about, and it's going to be a big deal. So I'm very excited about it, and more details coming soon.
Nice.
Yep.
I knew you before you're famous.
You still got a year and a half before I'm even more famous than I already am.
Nice one.
Giordad question. When the Golden Ratio account started, it seemed like you were really hesitant to be in the spotlight or even on camera. I was listening to an old podcast that was pre-live shows, I remember this, where you were still unsure about being on stage. What's it been like to get more comfortable or agreeable to the internet attention directed at you You've grown so much in being able to make GR content. Talk about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. If I take a step back, it's still a weird concept that people are interested in this stuff and me. And I mean, I'm still struggling with this whole Wholesome OnlyFans concept. People want to hear about me, but
if you're not a super follower or a Patreon, we've been doing Wholesome OnlyFans content once a week for those followers. So we've done GR Dad folding towels, GR Dad on the RV cover, GR Dad talking about the rocks in the front yard.
It'll be that kind of stuff. Yeah.
We did one. We recorded the video today for one on GR Dad on how to make hard-boiled eggs.
Which I didn't invent that. Anyway, I think it's I don't know. I used to think, here's a psychological excursion, because it's no rules.
Yeah, it is.
I used to have the feeling that, I don't know if this was how rational, how well reasoned out this was, that, what I did wasn't really interesting, or what I did like at work wasn't interesting. And so I didn't want to tell Jen about it because it was like, it's boring. I mean, why would she want to know like what I did during the day or what I did at all? Like, why would she want to hear about me? And I kind of realized it was interesting to her.
It was.
And I should share it and not let my weird judgment about, well, my life isn't very interesting to me, so why would it be interesting to you, preclude that. So it's been a process. I've learned that I can tell her things, and she won't think it's boring.
I want to know, like, what you had for lunch and how you enjoyed it, and if they gave you a hard time when you were checking out. I want to know everything.
Yeah, which is, like, I used to think, why would anyone want to know what sandwich, like not social media, anyone want to know what I had for lunch? And you do, and so I tell you.
Yep.
And so along that spectrum, it's the same thing where I was like, oh, I'm not interesting. Why would anyone want to know about me? What do I bring to the stage? It's really just the dogs. And but I've learned that it is interesting to people, and people do enjoy this, and it is, I mean, even helpful to people, some people and many people. And a lot of it's been the feedback online, right? I mean, like if people say, you have no reason to lie, you guys. If you say it's interesting to you and you want to hear about it, then I'm happy to share.
Yep.
It's not that I'm deadly introverted and I don't want to, I'm unable to perform on stage or in public. I just didn't think I had anything to contribute, right? I mean, Jen's got the substance and the content. I'm just like the Andy Richter to Conan O'Brien. I'm just the Ed McMahon, but it's an important role. So I'm happy to help.
I mean, I think we live a kind of unusual life with all of these dogs and all their crazy issues. And like, that's interesting to people. And, hopefully we're being kind of friendly and fun about it. And, that's what social media is all about. I think we are authentic, if nothing else. Right?
Oh yeah, we yeah, no, that's right.
Like, we are not this edited Instagram. I mean, I think our Instagram is beautiful, but it's not like we're setting up these kind of fake-ish backdrops. Like, we edit stuff out. Like, we don't do the scatological stuff with the dogs, for example. Like, we curate a little bit, but we're certainly not creating this like false image of what our life is like. And
you see a lot of weird stuff that the dogs do, kind of unedited.
Yeah, it's a full embracing of our like quirky, chaotic life, and I think we're doing great things for these dogs, and that resonates with people. And so people like that, and we're kind of the voices behind that. And
yeah, I mean, for me, the short answer, since it was for me, Jen.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Just kidding. I mean, I really am just kidding. For me, part of it is just the feedback online, which is like people saying, yeah, I'd be interested in this, or yeah, that is something I'd want to see and would welcome it, or that good job, GR Dad. I mean, this is not too complicated, right? People seem to like it. I'm okay with it. I'll share. Do
you have a favorite piece of legal advice that you would give to people?
Favorite people. Look before you leap. Think before you do something. Consult with a lawyer earlier rather than later.
If you get arrested, ask for a lawyer.
Don't talk to the cops.
Ask for a lawyer.
Don't talk to the cops.
That's right.
Ask for a lawyer 3 times if you have to. They're going to trick you. Don't talk to the cops. They're not your friends. I have nothing against cops, but in those situations, they're not your friend. When they say, "Do you know why I pulled you over tonight, sir?" And you say, "It's because I was speeding," that's all they need. They don't need any more evidence, and that's the admission, and that's it. That's the end. They don't need to prove they don't even need to pull out their radar gun.
Yeah.
So, just keep it in mind that it's a weird interaction.
All right. So that's it for the questions that we got from the super followers on Patreon. The one thing that I had noted for the no rules is that there's a thing going around on Twitter, which didn't seem to really hit as like a major fad, but was a kind of blip for a day, where people were looking up their names on Urban Dictionary to see what it said.
Yeah, that was weird.
So I had written this down to do. Did you do this for yourself?
No, I'm not on there.
Oh, you are?
No, Urban Dictionary, come on.
You look up Ingo on Urban Dictionary, so I'm going to tell you what it says. Ingo. The Ingo, like a gazelle, easily gallops around Ingo's questions. His skills even take him on a voyage to Las Vegas as a Revit champion. I don't know what that is. Please note, not everyone can be a Revit champion. And the king of Bongo, it's a privilege. The Ingo is German and a very good chef. He shares his dishes with everyone. Sometimes he is grunchy, but that's the reason we love him. The Ingo, if he was rich, would have the most energy efficient house. He is green at heart. The Ingo is athletic. He chops wood for his fireplace. He goes on long walks with Holly, skis with his friends, but doesn't dance because it's all kinds of gymnastics. And then the example usage is, look at that guy. That guy is such an Ingo.
Well, I'm flattered.
All right, here's the second definition. Ingo, the cutest creature the world has ever seen. He's a blue, white, black budgie. Ingo is just wonderful in every way. Everyone loves him.
Well, that's positive.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's I'm surprised. A, I'm in there, and B, it's positive.
Ingo. Here's one more. Ingos are high, clever, good-looking, smart, and funny. They're always wearing good dress and have very good taste generally. They're very skilled with their hands. Doesn't matter if it's wood or women. Ooh. The girls love him.
Whoa.
He has a big general knowledge, especially in natural history. His knowledge about human nature is also amazing. Ingo's heart is big. It's a pleasure to know him. He knows how to work with his big schlong, and the women love it.
What is this?
I didn't read it ahead of time. That's so funny.
Wait a minute. Is this like some kind of weird bot? What happened
I'm guessing that's a dude named Ingo who wrote that entry.
Oh, maybe.
So there you go.
This is not a wiki, though.
This is Urban Dictionary. Yeah, you can put an entry in there.
I can?
Anyone can, yeah.
Get out.
You can write your own definition.
Oh, maybe I wrote that.
Maybe you did. No, you'd have better grammar than that guy. All right, so here's what it says for Jen. Number 1 definition. Jen, a smart, beautiful, funny, kind, and talented girl who's an amazing friend in person.
What?
Jen struggles with confidence. That, as we know, I do not struggle with. I walk around here and I'm like, I'm so fucking awesome. I like do a thing and I was like, Ingo, you're so lucky. Did you taste this thing I made for dinner? You're so lucky.
That is so a thing. And I go, I'm so lucky.
Puts up with more than an average person, but everyone else can see how amazing she is. Jen's an amazing person. She's funny, smart, clever, and the nicest person you'll ever meet, and is gorgeous. If you have a Jen in your life, then you're very lucky. She has all the characteristics that a person should have and more. She's an excellent cook and baker. She's perfect, but makes mistakes just like everybody else. She is loved by all. I love her very much.
Just some drunk Jen, do you think, who put that in there?
Maybe. I think that's probably a friend of a Jen.
Drunk friend of a Jen.
This one says, besides being her insanely flirty and crazy self, she really knows how to light up a room.
By being her insanely flirty self.
She has this zesty and contagious positive energy that radiates into everyone's souls.
Remoulade is zesty.
I think that's a fair description of me.
Zesty?
Maybe if I have a zesty and contagious positive energy that radiates into everyone's souls. I mean, I may be flattering myself, but I feel like I aspire to be that person.
Positive energy is definitely like, yeah, I'm going to tell a story about how nice you are. You're very nice.
I'm so nice.
This is the thing. So I have like a CD collection from over my life and this is, a little bit dated, but don't mock it because that was the only good medium for music for 10 years, right? Where after LPs and cassettes, getting CDs was the bomb, right? They don't break, they don't wear out.
Yep. So
I have a ton of CDs. You probably know exactly how many, like several hundred.
286, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say about 300. And still a CD player, but I sold the last car I had with the CD player.
Yeah.
And so I have one at home, but I never really listen to them anymore. And so you and I have this back and forth about, there's a service where you can send off the CDs and get them recorded and digitized, and then you get them as a download, right? Right. And so I was like, all right, I'll box them all up. And
it's like $1.40 a CD, basically.
Yeah, and we'll get that done, and it's.
But you have to take them out of the case and put them on a spindle and send the spindle, and then pay extra if you want to get them back, and then you have to put them all in the cases. Like every time I looked, I was like, oh, it's such a process.
And but we weren't making it your process, right?
No,
you were just like, you can get this done. I was like, all right, fine, I'll look into it. And then one time you went up to Maryland. And you came back and you played all the CDs onto MP3 format and saved them into my Apple Music. Now I have all my CDs on Apple Music. And every time I drive a car and I, plug in my phone and I listen to any of my 286 CDs, I'm like, man, Jen is so nice. This is so nice that I have my whole music library on my Apple Tunes now. Apple iTunes, and I didn't ask for that, and it was just so nice. It must have taken me a week, all night and all day.
I think I was up there for a week, and I had a backup computer, and I bought an additional external CD drive so I could have two going at once. And every 10 minutes, it takes like 10 minutes to import a CD, so it goes bloop, and then I would just Pavlovian, every 10 minutes I'd hear the sound and I'd go switch out and put them back in, and
286 times.
It did take about a week.
No,
I'm so
great.
glad that you think that's nice. I was
awesome.
really pleased to do that for you, and I had no idea you appreciated it like that.
Because now I can shuffle my entire life. I'll get a CD that I bought in college, and then the next one is a chapter from a book on tape that was in there, and
there were a few.
I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then there's another song from last year or whatever, the last time I bought a CD, and it's very nice. All of it's right there. It was great, very nice.
Oh, I love you. I'm glad that you liked that.
Yeah, but I didn't ask for it. You were just
I just wanted to do it so you'd have your stuff.
Yeah, it was great. Much better than sending it out and having it done badly.
Well, I am touched that you like that.
Yeah, I think it needs to be said. I mean, everyone already knows you're awesome, but they don't know how awesome you are. They don't even know.
Oh, well, thanks.
So thanks for that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to end the podcast on this high note.
I was going to ask, on a No Rules podcast, how do we know we're done?
I think that's it. We just talked about how great I was. And
end on a high note. That's good.
Nothing else needs to be said. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the No Rules podcast. We also just finished recording Murders in Paradise. So if you want to hear more of us talking and you were not a subscriber before, you can go look that up. There's 30 some episodes from the first round, and then we took a year off. And
that's free. That's just subscription, on podcast.
Yes. It's free, just like this one.
Yeah.
And until next time, don't bite anyone unless they ask you to.
That's right. Even if it's no rules, no biting.
Correct.
That's a rule.
Yeah. A permanent rule.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.